Hi, welcome to Mooney Reads. My name is Beck, and March is Women's History Month. To honor that, I wanted to take the time to recommend some books that focus on women's history or women's issues. To start off with, I wanted to point out Amazon's Abolitionists and Activists by Mickey Kendall and A. D'Amico. This is a graphic novel that details women's history. This might look pretty short, especially since it is a graphic novel. However, there is so much history in this. It starts from really early on. It covers a lot of different countries. The bulk of it does focus on the United States, but even within that, they look diversely. There's a section for LGBT activism, trans activists specifically, disability activism. And when there are issues with some of the figures that they talk about, for instance, some of the women in first-wave feminism who were racist, they mentioned the fact that some of the earlier proponents of birth control were ableist. So, needless to say, this is a pretty nuanced history for being so small and covering such a wide span of time. I absolutely recommend this, and I would say this is good for a lot of different ages. If you're having any kind of conversations with your kids on tough issues, I think this would definitely be good for them too. It mentions things like assault and abortion, but not in a whole lot of detail at all. So if you're talking to your kids about Women's History Month, this is good. If you're an adult and you just want to learn about Women's History Month, this book is great. The next book that I wanted to mention is a book that I think absolutely everyone should read, and that is Black Feminist Thought, Knowledge, Consciousness, and the Politics of Empowerment by Patricia Hill Collins. This is a more academic book. However, Patricia Hill Collins intentionally wrote it to be more accessible. This talks at length about history, specifically Black women's history. One of the main premises of this book is that we should restructure where we see knowledge as coming from. Patricia Hill Collins seeks to legitimize Black women's voices historically. So she is taking a lot of different things that previous activists have said and looked at them in the same light as you would any other academic or otherwise legitimate voice. She goes through so many different issues in this book. She talks both historically and presently about the treatment of Black women and how Black women are represented through media and policy and much, much more. This is an absolutely excellent book. If you get no other book that I talk about today, please get this one and read it. The next book that I wanted to talk about is an anthology, Colonize This, Young Women of Color on Today's Feminism. And this was edited by Daisy Hernandez and Bushra Rehman. This is an absolutely excellent book. I use it all the time in my women's and gender studies class that I teach. There are essays from Black women, Latino women, Asian women. There are essays from trans women of color, disabled women of color. So you get to hear from a lot of different types of people on a variety of subjects. They focus on family, on immigration, reproductive rights. There's a decent bit on just culture in general in here. I can't recommend this book enough, honestly. The next few books that I'm going to be talking about are memoirs. Some of them focus on important figures. All of them focus on important issues. The first one is Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. Alison Bechdel is well known in the LGBT community. If you've ever heard of the Bechdel test, that is from Alison Bechdel. This memoir focuses on her relationship with her dad. She also talks about coming out herself. There is really a lot in here. This is a good pick for LGBT history as well, obviously, because you can kind of see the difference between how her dad ended up turning out versus her. This is an absolutely excellent memoir. I was in love with it. One of the things that makes it kind of even more interesting is the fact that it is written as a graphic novel. I think that the artwork is absolutely wonderful. I love the fact that she has narrative alongside the comics. This is just a really beautiful book, and I would definitely recommend it if you're looking to read more women this month or in general. The next memoir that I wanted to highlight was I Am Malala, the girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban. So this is Malala Yousafzai's memoir. She actually has a version of it that's for young readers, so high school, middle school. Another one that's slightly younger. Oh my god, can you not? Remy, please? The one that I have specifically and the one that I've read is kind of the regular or adult version of the book, but she does have a young reader's version that's more high school, middle school oriented, and then one that's even younger. I've heard that the young reader's version kind of has her voice a little bit better, so I'm looking forward to reading that one. But this one in particular, it talks a little bit about kind of the politics beforehand so that you sort of understand the situation that she was in. She talks about how she was able to get involved in education through her dad and start speaking. And then it goes through the incident where she was shot. But this girl had done so many amazing things. She was the youngest person to win the Nobel Peace Prize. So if you were looking for a important historical figure to look at, Malala Yousafzai is definitely a person that you'll want to focus on. The final memoir that I wanted to talk about is the one that I have read most recently, and it is my favorite book of the year so far. And that is In the Dreamhouse by Carmen Machado. This one is being talked about a whole lot right now, and it absolutely deserves all of the hype that it's getting and more. It's beautiful and haunting. The way that it's written is so interesting and unique. The chapters are very short. A lot of them are in second person, so you sort of get the experience of being in her shoes. There are some chapters that are written just regularly, like in first person. This focuses on her experience being in an abusive queer relationship. So you get to see some of her actual experience. She also contextualizes all of it by pulling from research and writings from other queer women who had been in abusive relationships. I cannot talk this book up enough. It focuses on such an important issue. Not only, domestic violence in general is a big women's issue that people talk about, but specifically within the context of a queer relationship, it's not talked about a whole lot. And also specifically, mental and emotional aspects of abuse don't really get the same focus as kind of the physical violence, but it's still an important piece that needs focus. So absolutely pick up this book. Hopefully some of these sounded interesting to you. Hopefully, if nothing else, you'll pick up a book by and about women this month and every month. In the comments, please let me know the books that you're going to be reading this Women's History Month, or some of your favorite books that focus on women and women's history. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Bye.